I'm Lauren with Me Too Many Voices, and today I am joined with the talented and brilliant Diana Varco. She is the creator, writer, performer of the solo show Shattered, which had quite a long run at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. And so we're very lucky to have her here today. I will go ahead and give her the floor, and she will introduce herself and a little bit about what we're going to do today.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. And I just have to say, I love your content, and I really think that a lot of what I see that you put out speaks very much to the survivor experience. So thank you. I am a survivor myself. I unfortunately had an assault in 2009 that I say shattered my life. And so that's what my solo show is about. And I think that, one of the important pieces of me doing my show is that I never wanted to tell this story. This is not a story that I wanted to talk about and I wanted to tell, but I felt that it was really necessary because I was in the improv and comedy world. My background is in performance. I've been on stage since I was a child, and the stage has always been my safe place. But I was in the improv and comedy world after I was assaulted, and I found that I would go to the UCLA Rape Treatment Center where I was getting treatment. And then I would go to a comedy class and my peers would be doing scenes about rape and they would be laughing and joking. And I really, it was very re-traumatizing. And then when I went into the stand-up world, I would have the same experience. And even when I was talking with friends, there was always just, jokes about rape. And I think it's just a part of the rape culture that jokes at the survivor's expense are perpetuated, and the survivors very often are not given the opportunity to use comedy from our experiences. So after many years of re-traumatization in the improv world, I finally had the good opportunity to meet my director randomly, and I found that she was using comedy to talk about human experiences. And I found her solo show community, which is the Soaring Solo. My director's name is Jessica Lynn Johnson. She does a free solo class often here in Los Angeles, and it's actually virtual now because we all can't leave our homes. But I met her and I saw that she was using characters and personification to tell stories. And so I made the leap and I started to write my show. And I did it through characters in comedy. And I found that it was extremely, in some ways, it opened up a lot of things I had to deal with. But in many ways, it's been very cathartic because I've been able to have the story live outside of myself. And that's really what I teach with my characters, is the ability to take hold of these emotions or these core beliefs and turn them into characters. So we become the puppet masters, not necessarily the very dark moments of the survivor experience. And that said, I have been to the darkest places of myself. So I'm right there with you. And in no way am I downplaying the gravity of what some of these emotions are and these experiences are. I'm just trying to take hold of them, and I turn them into comedy to let them know that I am the one in control. So with Shattered, I also do go into early childhood trauma. I go into family abuse cycles. I do also go into self-harm within the show, which has been a very interesting aspect of the survivor experience that I didn't understand. And that actually is part of early childhood trauma as well. And so I've really found that with Shattered, I have a platform to raise awareness about the psychological impact of sexual assault and violation. And that's really my mission, is to help people to understand. Because I think that my peers that were joking, I don't think they necessarily either understood or they had their own unresolved pain. So that's what I do. I just finished a 25 show run at Edinburgh Fringe, which was amazing. I'm just kind of starting to support more of this character creation to hopefully give people a tool to see what I do. So, Shattered. Yeah. So it goes into the jumping off point is really, I was noticing with myself, I really am avoidant of relationships and love. I find that with survivors, oftentimes people will go hypersexual or hypo, where they, I think that's the word, hypo, where they're avoidant. So I was avoidant, and I really delve into that in the show. The three main characters of the show are shame, truth, and denial. And the show is told through a shattered psyche, a mixture of narration, shattered psyche, and flashbacks. And the people that take you on that ride are, of course, me, but also shame, truth, and denial. And they're a triangle. And so I will introduce you to these lovely little characters. Usually they're full body, but I'm sitting down just for simplicity's sake. But yeah, I guess you'll see the show at some point and you'll see the full character. So Shame is a cockroach, and he is, oh, hello. You all know me. I'm Diana's good friend, Shame. And he is vicious. He ruled my mind. And I say he and she, but in reality, these characters they're genderless. I just say that for simplicity. Not necessarily simplicity, but you know what I mean. I say that, but it doesn't, they're interchangeable. So yeah, he ruled my mind. He, shame is the, I'm bad, I'm this is your fault, blah, blah, blah voice. So that's shame. And then there's denial. Hi, I'm denial. This never happened. We are fine. And denial is, she's kind of like a politician, like a woman made of vapor, basically. And then my favorite, my love, and the process of doing my show has really taught me to connect with this character that I'm going to show you the most. And that is my character of truth. I didn't ever really answer or listen to my own inner truth. So this little guy has been my saving grace. But yeah, hello, yeah, you all know me. I am Diana's inner truth. Yeah, so the truth of the matter is that all of this was not her fault. Yeah, and it's not fair for the mind to attack us. And so Truth, he's a lovely little turtle. He's a professor, and he wears like a sweater vest. And so when my mind is attacking me, as it does, I'll say, wait, what's the truth? And I listen to myself and I sit with myself, because even when all these other voices are plaguing the mind, the truth is at the core, that it's not our fault. And we don't have to listen to the shame and all those mean voices. So yeah, that's a brief overview of me.
I love it. I love you.
Oh, thanks.
You do. When I first saw it got shattered, it really struck me what a great job you did by being vulnerable and by being yourself and by your comedic timing. You are so funny. It is such
Oh, thanks.
and being able to use the gifts that you have to use that to help your healing process, your coping, and now you're teaching us. It's quite remarkable.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I always say that I was given a lot of trauma and a lot of creation ability. So now they're just coming together. We have to make meaning out of some of these really hard things that happen to us, because we're survivors. I mean, that's the truth, is we survived a lot. And it's, I wouldn't wish it upon anybody, of course, but sometimes you have to kick shame in the face and say, nope, I'm still here.
You definitely do that. Um, dog is barking, so hopefully you can hear me. There's
I
someone
can't.
moving right outside.
Technology. It's technology. And I would say, you know, in Shattered, I go through some really I go through some really dark parts of it, of course. And so I am, of course, I feel like healing is a process. And when I have had those moments where I've been alone and in isolation and really in like I call it spinning or in a dark place, I will break out and just play one of the characters, and that will break my reality basically. So you know, I myself have struggled with self-harm, with you know, not wanting to, but that was one unfortunate piece of the assault. I had never been suicidal in my life, but after I was assaulted, it became an unwanted intruder in my mind, and so, and it was really scary, and it still is, to be honest. But one of the characters in the show is suicidal thoughts, and so whenever those really scary thoughts pop up, instead I will play her, and I'll play suicidal thoughts. I can't do it because I'm sitting, but she's like, "Hi, Diana. I'm your suicidal thoughts." And so she's very, she's almost demonic, almost tempting demonic, but also very vicious. But I'll have her like, I'll walk around my house and just play her talking about tissue. So, you know, that's what I do. I will basically have them talk about things that are innocuous and minor to kind of show like their power is not over. They're small. They're small compared to us and our truth. So so yeah, I hope it's helpful. And I thought we could all create a character.
I would love that. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
So I'm sure that I've been thinking to myself, I'm like, you know, as trauma survivors, in some ways, all the tools I have in my toolbox to be resilient, I'm applying now because this is a collective trauma that people are going through. I mean, the world has, our daily lives are much different than they were before. So rather than focusing on maybe one of the darker emotions, like shame, or one of the more potent emotions, I thought we could focus on a lighter emotion, an emotion that like, we can create, and I can show you how to do that. And then that emotion can kind of be with you. If you are in a dark place or a dark moment, you can have that little character, just to know that you're not alone. So there are a few emotions that I can say I have felt despite some really hard times in this stay-at-home orders. I've definitely felt gratitude. I've felt acceptance. I've felt love. And I thought I would reach out to you and see if there's anything in that wheelhouse of what you would like to create a character from.
Anybody want to chime in with some suggestions?
And we have a feelings wheel to help us.
Yes.
Happy hope. Oh, let's do hope.
That's a great one.
I like hope. Yeah, let's do hope. That's great. That's great. Okay, so I'll teach you how to make hope. So, oh, creative is good. Yeah, I love creative. I've felt that this is a very creative time too. And for me, my creativity is like, it's like a suit of armor for me. A relief. Rave. Oh, these are great. I love these. I want to write them down so they can be like my little toolbox, or my little cast of characters. You can honestly, I'm going to show you the technique, and you can pick whatever emotion is going to work best for you. I found that with my mental health and my exercises, I know what I need and I know what I want to work on. So I have that ability to make the decision for myself, and I say that the same thing to you. So whatever of these emotions you want to work on, I say do. So I will do. I guess I'll just do the one that resonates for me are all of those. But I think I'm leaning towards hope, because I think for me, hope is something that I really hold on to. And so that would probably serve me best. So right now, so I will do that. So what we're going to do, the process, and you can do this along with me at home. The process is we're going to just kind of neutralize ourselves. Okay, so we're gonna just like take a deep breath and just ground ourselves. You're just gonna have your awareness, from the top of your head all the way down through your body. And you can just notice any parts that are feeling a little tight, or any places that are holding tension, any places that are holding excitement, any places that are just holding any energy. And we're just going to release all of that. And we're going to feel our feet on the ground. And if you're sitting, you can feel the chair underneath you. If you're standing, just feel the weight of the earth supporting you. Okay, so we're all neutral. Sometimes I'll just get the energy out too. I'll just like shake it all out. So then after that, you just want to drop in as if you're a, like a piggy bank. You want to drop in that word in the top. And oh yeah, you don't have to do this too, but you can. I think it's funny. So just drop it in. And I'm going to just let that word rattle around in my body to see, how that affects my body. And if my awareness is taken to any part of my body. And it might be really interesting because sometimes it's a big piece of our body, but sometimes it's just the tips of our toes, or the tips of our fingers, or the shoulders, the tips of our shoulders. So it doesn't have to be like my whole arm. It can be my whole arm, but it also can be just my eyelashes. So just bring yourself to the awareness. And that said, if you are a person who doesn't want to go into the body, you don't have to. Sometimes bodies aren't safe for people. And so if it's not for you, don't do it. Just think of where that might live in your body. So for me, when you said hope I immediately thought of my shoulders. So I can do that, or I can do the body scan. And I am going to combine both of those techniques. I'm going to use the shoulder for hope, but also as I did my body scan, I really felt it in the tips of my toes. So after I do the body, then I will add a noise to it. So for me, since it's the tip of my toes, I'm starting to do the motion that my body's coming out of. And so this motion, you can do really small, and then you can do really big to see like, okay, what are they? Are they like, is it a big bombastic character, or is it a small character? Is it going to be very, very tiny, or is it going to be very big? So the reason I do that is because then if you are, let's say you're in a board meeting, let's say you're in the supermarket, let's say you're in your car, and you can't break out into this zany character. You can just have it be on a scale of like a 0.5. You can have it be a scale of a 10 or a scale of 0.5. You don't know that I'm doing it right now, but I'm doing it. It's 0.5. So, okay, once you have the body motion, we're gonna add a noise. And as I'm doing this, I'm sensing into my shoulders, and I'm sensing into the tip of my toes. And I didn't realize, I add layers. I add the body, then I add the noise, and then I add kind of a point of view for this character. Or I add a persona. So as I'm doing this, I didn't realize, but like my hope is like a singer. She's like, oh yeah. Like she probably wears like, robes of glitter. And she's probably just like, she probably just like opens up to the sky. I just see her I see like shoots of rainbows as I'm doing this, right? And glitter, and just like bigger than the sky. So my hope is, I think the noise would be, Varco! I don't want to do it too loud because I know I don't want to like, you know, but so I do it like that. And then I will almost sculpt them as if so my characters are often, they're often animals. So for this one, I don't know why, but I think my hope is a seagull. She's a seagull. And so it's a seagull and she's just like, blah, okay. And because she's a seagull, I'm going to put the voice more in the throat because seagulls have those, you know, those jowls. And that's what's also really fun for me is that these characters, they don't have to be pretty and they don't have to be perfect. And a seagull is like not the most majestic bird, but it's a bird. And this one is loving life. So I love my seagull. But if I were in my car, I'd probably be like, ah. You know, I'm living it. So yeah, and then I would give, of course, if I'm walking around my house, let's say, and I'm in a really hard moment, I can play that seagull and I can say, I like that heart behind me. It's a lovely heart. Yeah. And so I also love this seagull because she's a terrible singer. So you can use the seagull to talk about the heart behind me, or you can use the seagull to talk about frustrations. You can use the seagull to talk about anything. It's hope, and it's there.
I can feel hope.
Do you love it? Oh my God. And Matt's like, I love it.
Love it.
I love it. And
I smiled that entire time. I could feel it in my body. I could feel the hope.
yes, that's great. And I just want to say thank you for posting that because this gives me such an amazing character that I can go to. Like that was a gift for me. So thank you. I love that hope.
What continues to impress me so much is your ability to have insight and look inward and to be able to listen to what your body is telling you. And then not only just listening, but creating and making it its own character, and then making a show and a performance in front of other people. To me, like just saying that you did that, it makes my stomach hurt out of nerves. That vulnerability. How did you
Thanks.
that? You know, your Shattered is remarkable. I've never seen it. You know, how did we able to get into that space to be able to let yourself be so vulnerable?
I I think I've always used characters as my sanctuary. I've always used the stage and characters and story as an escape mechanism. So for me, that's why I do so many characters in the show because they're able to say things that I can't say as me. Or that's why even with that Hope character, if I'm going through a hard time, I can just go right to that character instead. And that's almost a safe place. So with Shattered, it's really interesting because I go through some pretty, I don't hold back from the truth. And that said, I'm very mindful of how I tell the story to the audience because I don't want to, I want to be truthful, but I also want to be responsible to their mental health too. But the characters are actually what bring me to the stage and Shattered. So as Diana, I don't want to go through that story again. I don't want to relive it. There were times at Hollywood Fringe and Edinburgh Fringe, and even now to this day, even though I've done it probably like 40 times, I'm like, I'm not going on. I'm not going on that stage. But the characters, I can feel them popping up inside of me, and they're like, we want to go play. Shame is like, I want my time. you know? And so it's fascinating to me because the parts of me want to go play. But those parts, those emotions don't understand, of course, my rational brain that knows the truth of what I did live through, you know? So, and that said, after I do perform it, I have to take care of myself. I have to do a lot of self-care because it's trauma that I'm reliving. But the characters don't know, and they're really fun.
May I ask what kind of self-care you do after the shows to help, reground yourself?
Yeah, and I have to say, I don't always like. I think we can sometimes do healthy self care and sometimes do not so healthy self care. So I'm not perfect. Like at times, I will after a show have a glass of wine or a lot of wine, but I try not to because then that will, of course, that's not healthy for me. But I will oftentimes not really engage in a lot of social interaction. Because I often will have just for like a day or two. I call it cocooning. So I will stay in my bed and I'll sleep and I'll just kind of let myself come back together again because the process of the show really does. Many characters coming out. It is shattering. So I call it cocooning, and I will just like sleep in bed and I will tell people that I'm in my cocoon and I cannot come out right now. And then I will take probably like 24 hours or whatever and then respond to messages and friends and stuff. But I found in the early days of Shattered, I would go out and see friends and I would respond to my messages and I would do all this stuff because it brings up a lot for a lot of people. So I want to be there for people. And I also want to, of course, talk to my friends and get their impression. But I found that it's too much stimulus for me. And I need to go into a place of like, of almost healing afterwards.
It's really important that you know that you've learned that about yourself. And
Yeah.
a huge fan of cocooning. I do that myself.
Oh, you do?
Absolutely. It's somewhere between a day and a week, depending on, what it is. I mean, there have been longer cocooning phases, but mostly now a day, a couple of days. And I just quit the world. It's just me and my
Yeah.
dog going to be in bed. We're going to sleep. We're going to do whatever. But I just quit. I
Yeah.
stay under my weighted blanket a lot and cuddle up to my dog. And I know that's me self-regulating. That's me
Yeah.
taking to too stimulating. There's too much going on, overwhelmed.
Agreed. Because I think that I've definitely isolated at times in an unhealthy way, but I think that cocooning for me is a conscious decision to recollect myself almost. And when I did Edinburgh Fringe, I didn't have the luxury of being able to cocoon because of many different factors. And, I had to get right back up and do the show again the next day. So I would cocoon by going to get a coffee afterwards, and I would sit in a park and I would just I would sit there and I would just let myself come back together. And so I had to do a shorter cocoon.
It's important to do that. When can you make a character out of?
I know, cocoon.
I'm crazy.
I think it has it's like a little glowworm. Like, I'm in my cocoon.
Kind of like Marcel the Shell.
Yeah. Totally.
I saw a question peep in, and let's see. The idea of turning emotions into characters is amazing. Love it. We had a, where can we watch your show?
Oh, fantastic. Yes. So I am going to be doing the show on May 28th at the theater that I premiered it at, the Whitefire Theater. And, I'll providing, we are not on stay-at-home orders anymore, and I'll be live streaming it. So you can always follow me on Instagram, and I'll be posting about that. I'm also doing a workshop this weekend on May 2nd with my director, Jessica Lynn Johnson, and we're going to do a deep dive into how I created the show, talking about my characters. Oh, thanks. Yeah, talking about my characters and her technique. And she guides. She's directed like over 100 shows, and so she really has this community of supporting any person that wants to tell their story. I utilize I am trained in UCB and Groundlings, which are improv schools out here in Los Angeles. And so we're going to talk about my background and the show. The full show is not currently available online, but I always post about when I'm going to be doing it. And I think May 28th is the next date. And I hope that I'm able to do, of course, the show. But what I've started doing is inviting trauma-related guests to have a panel discussion afterwards. So I'm hoping to do that on May 28th, but if I don't really know technology, if we're going to be able to do it. So usually you would be able to see the show and then also see a talk back, which I think is really, it's really important, I think, to kind of give people that moment to cocoon and, you know, let go of some of the things that the show brings up or process it.
This weekend, tell us again how we can. The flyer show large screen when I put it on.
I know, technology, right? So I'll definitely post on my Instagram at Diana Varco. I didn't, when I set up Instagram, I didn't know that people use different names, so mine's just my name. So yes, you just and I'll put it in the, I can type it in the chat, can't I? I don't know, but so you can. Okay, so you just email soaringsoloartist@gmail.com to RSVP. It is donation, pay what you can, with a suggested donation of $30, but really you can pay whatever you want. A portion of those proceeds are going to save our theater that we love, the White Fire in Sherman Oaks. It is the place where I was able to premiere this show, and I never would have told this story. So it's important for me to donate to the arts. And also the White Fire donated space to my director, Jessica, to host her class. So there's a whole community of us that would never have been able to tell our stories without it. So we're donating a portion of the proceeds.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for this. I've had a lot of fun.
Thank you. This was like awesome for me because I feel like I met hope. And so I'm really grateful to your community for having me, and thanks so much. And thank you for what you do. I love your content.
Well, I appreciate it, and thank you everyone for joining, and I will talk to you soon.
Okay, bye. Bye.